Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the BTTB podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan, here with this special guest. We got Madison. She is a one-time volleyball player turned powerlifter, turned collegiate athlete at Greenville University. She's going to be here with us today telling us her strength story and kind of what got her into the sport of powerlifting, what made it to where she could become a collegiate athlete, because that's not something every athlete gets to do. And then tell us a little bit about her road to nationals, which is just here in 4 weeks at Atlanta, Georgia. Madison, thank you so much for for you to
Yeah,
come on today. I said that totally wrong, but that's okay. I'm not professional.
thank
I
you
don't
for
get paid.
having me.
We're going to do this kind of like we've done this before, i.e. technical difficulties, but so this should be a fun episode. I'm going to let you start off just like I do every guest. We just want to get to know you for a minute. Tell us a little bit about your background, what got you into strength training, and then what led you to that first competition.
So I started doing power tumbling when I was really little. I started competing it when I was about 3, and we always did a lot of exercising. We were in the gym a lot for it. So I've never been a stranger to lifting weights. I just never done power lifting before. And then I did that till I was about 16, and then I did volleyball all throughout junior high and most of high school. And then volleyball wasn't as fun as it used to be, so I decided that I was going to quit that. And my mom was like, "Hey, I kind of still want you to keep up on staying active. I don't want you to sit at home all the time." I was like, "Okay." So she loves to go to the gym, and so the guy who owns the gym there, he did powerlifting when before he opened the gym, and he was like, "You should try powerlifting." So I went in one day and I did all 3 lifts, and I was like, "This could be fun. I think I could like this." And he was like, "Well, I'm hosting a meet in a couple of weeks." And I was like, "Okay." So he got me ready for that. We worked on all the commands and everything. My first meet, I went in, I was really nervous. I've always been a big perfectionist, and I not only had 6 to 8 weeks to train for it, so I wasn't super prepared for it, I guess. But I was really excited, and everyone was super welcoming, and I had a really great time. And I think I went 8 for 9 at that meet, so I would say it was
Eight
pretty
for nine.
successful.
8 for 9 with about a 565-pound total. I think you
Mhm.
told me earlier. Let's get into, you said something that, because I've done this with you before, I know is impactful. What about volleyball drove you away? There's a reason why a lot of high school athletes unfortunately give up sports. I think I read a statistic the other day. It was like 35% of freshman athletes don't continue on with the sport they started by their senior year. Tell us a little bit about what drove you to kind of distance yourself from a traditional scholastic sport like volleyball.
So, I it's high school and it's girls, so we don't always get along, and it really showed on the volleyball court. We were a very competitive group of girls, especially within the team, because everyone wanted that starting position. So it just got very chaotic and very
Now, would you say this was
messy.
yeah, messy? That's a good way of putting it. You should go into political speech writing, because that was skirting the line like I've never seen it before. I give President Trump some advice about skirting the line. So you said that was very competitive within itself. Was that like freshmen being competitive with additional freshmen? Was that upperclassmen kind of
Well, it
pushing
was
rank
kind of
on younger classmen?
well,
How kind of give
yeah,
us just
no,
a little bit
okay,
more detail?
so the school I went to, we had a very good volleyball program. Our coaches knew what they were doing. They were great volleyball players when they played, and they coached us very well. So the freshmen were very good volleyball players, and they started to take upperclassmen spots on the starting positions, and it just
So
wasn't
it
going.
snowballed from there.
Yeah, it started
Yeah, I
there,
can
and
understand.
it just continued to get worse as we got older, because then people my class were getting their spots taken by underclassmen, and it just wasn't.
I can understand. Like I said, no, at that point in in a person's life, no one wants something taken. No one wants anything taken away from them in any point of life. but much less in a high school situation where it's an upper class person losing something from a lower class person. That's never going to
Mhm.
sit right at that age dynamic. So I understand that. So it got a little toxic, a little girl on girl hate, I'm sure, which is always dangerous. Y'all can man, being having girls mad at you as a person that has four sisters. I've never wanted that kind of in my life at all because I know what that's
No,
like.
it's no fun.
Sleep with one eye
If you
open,
had
that's for
a
sure.
volleyball tournament on Saturday and then had to go back to school with each other on Monday, it was never fun.
I understand. So, you said something else that I think is important for any parents that gonna listen to this. What did your mom want you to do again?
She wanted me to, like, continue doing a sport. I think it was because she wanted to, like, instill a good work ethic in me. She didn't want to be lazy. She just wanted me to, like, continue to do things, continue to put effort into things that I was doing.
And that's something. So I have a 15-year-old daughter. I have preached to her since she was 3. She has to be active 3 days a week, no matter what. If she's gonna live in my house, she's tested me on that before, and I bought a tent and took it back because I told her if she didn't continue to work out, she was gonna sleep outside. But one of the rules of this household was you're going to work out 3 times a week. I don't care if it's like at this point she was doing some CrossFit and some powerlifting. I said it doesn't have to be competitive. If you play another sport and they have practice, that counts, but you're going to be doing something physical 3 days a week. And I think, well, I don't think I know or I wish that was a rule in more households because the obesity pandemic in today's youth is it's out of hand. And I think if more parents instilled a requirement for physical activity, we'd be in a lot better shape. So I give your mom kudos for pushing that even at an older age, like into you as in high school, because you could have got stagnant, you could have got lazy, you could have, you know,
Mhm.
gone into your room and become isolated. There's a lot of dangers that could have done that. So like I said, give your mom kudos from a old coach like myself for just making you continue to do something. So it sounds like powerlifting was kind of a luck of a gym. It really just fell into place because where you went.
Mhm.
You said your coach, the gym owner, put on meets. That's always nice. Not everybody gets to learn the sport from a meet director. He said that y'all prepped for about 8 weeks. You said something that I don't think a lot of high school lifters, unfortunately, as a person that goes to a bunch of meet, a referee in multiple federations. What did you say he made you practice before the meet?
Commands.
And
He
I'm
was
sure he
very, like
go ahead.
he was very adamant on making me, like, know them beforehand because he didn't want me to, like, miss them because he knew how mad I'd be at myself, and he didn't want me to go through that.
So I think more people miss commands than they do actual lifting standards. Or when I say more people, I mean more teenage/youth athletes. I think they miss more. They get more red or no lifts because of command misses than they do actual technical issues. So I give your coach props on that. I wish today's generation of you teen athletes had the access to some of these trainers like you did, luckily at your hometown, because I've seen way too many athletes just miss out of commands. Now, some of that's going to happen over anxiety. You know, you get nervous, which I'm sure you felt, and we'll get to more in your first meet conversation. But a lot of it's just ill preparation, not starting those commands early, not lifting to standards early enough in training. And then you build muscle habits of, dropping the weight too quick on a deadlift or taking a step to rack the squat too quickly. And those become habits. And if you don't learn to stop those habits and build those standards early on, you're going to miss them in competition. So I'll give your coach props on that. So walk us a little bit. You said you had a good day, 8 for 9. You said you were nervous. You're a perfectionist. Kind of walk us through the array of emotions that you dealt with kind of on competition day, because a lot of people, it's hard to, when you've never experienced a competition, it's hard to know what you're going to experience. But I think
Mhm.
a lot of it's a lot better than what people realize. Yes, you're nervous, but walk us through a little bit about what you experienced, how it went for you, and then what you felt like after the comp, because obviously you've done multiple competitions now. So you had to
Yeah.
have a good experience. What was that feeling like of accomplishment or satisfaction that drove you to go and prepare for another one?
Yeah, so when I got to the meet, I was super nervous because I'd never done anything like this before. I was very unsure of what I was getting myself into. And I got there and my coach was kept reassuring me that I was going to be okay. I was going to have a good time. And I was talking to some of the other athletes, and they were also reassuring me. The organization I compete in, it's like an older organization, so like it's a lot of older athletes. So they all had competed in several meets before. So they were all like, "You're gonna be okay. Like it's gonna be fun. I promise you." It's like okay. So I like did my first two squats. They went really well, and then I did my third one, and I misgrooved it, and I didn't get it back up. So I was really bummed out and like kind of like, what the heck? Like I should have gotten that. It wasn't really like a strength thing. It was more of like I just kind of misgrooved it. So
You were in wraps at this one, right?
yeah, I was.
Which misgrooving with a shift in the hips is probably a lot easier in wraps than it is knee sleeves because you
Okay.
get a lot more bounce out of that hole and things like that. So I missed the third. Did your coach say anything moving on to bench? Because that those kind of events, it can make or break a competitor. Like some people can't rebound from a miss, especially a younger athlete, or some people can, shake it off and just go straight to the next one. What did you have to do, or what did your coach say in order for you to prepare for that change in event?
Yeah, we had like a conversation afterwards because he knows I'm a perfectionist. Like we've had talks about it before in the gym, and he was like, "It's okay. Like you still have 6 more lifts to go. Like forget about it. Move on. Like there's nothing you can change about it now. So like you still have bench and deadlift left. Like you got this." And like I did volleyball and tumbling for forever. Like if you mess something up, like you have to keep going. Like you can't just stop. So it's something that I've like learned even as a perfectionist. So you have to still keep going. But it's also something I've kept in the back of my mind
Mhm.
because I went and did my bench and it went really well. So I was really excited after that. And like when I got to deadlifts, I was a lot less nervous at that point because,
Bench
I
went
did
so
all,
well.
yeah, and I was a lot more confident in my deadlifts, I guess, than I was my other two lifts at the point that point. So once that was over, I got all my deadlifts and I had such a fun time at the meet getting to talk to all the athletes and they were just very welcoming to me, and I just never really experienced that in a sport before because tumbling is just very competitive, and then volleyball, I just never experienced that really with teammates or like other teams before. So it was a really unique experience for me.
So you said two things. It was an older federation, and I know the type because that's the federation, or it's not the exact same federation. But I grew up in I started competing in an old school competition atmosphere where it was a group of brothers put on meets and they traveled the state. As a person that stayed in the sport for almost 10 years now, I wish parts of those kind of meets would come back. Cause like I remember the crowds being a lot better back then as far as hype and getting you into it compared to some of the crowds that I've seen now.
Mhm.
But I think that's also, and I'll get your opinion later on this. I think in those old school areas, you saw a lot more veteran lifters and veteran lifter. What's the guest or spectators is the word I'm looking for. They know what lifters need during a meet. Now you have so many new lifters coming to all these meets, and a meet might have 15 new lifters and then 30 second or third time lifters. I don't think the crowds know what to do in a powerlifting competition like they did before. Are you seeing a lot of difference between that kind of crowd versus the crowd you're experiencing now in like powerlifting America and these smaller meets?
Yeah, I still feel like there is a lot of like crowd involvement. Like they still will hype you up, but like the last couple of meets that I've been to, I went and refed a meet because I got my like refing certificate for it, and there was a lot of new lifters. So like there was a lot of people in the crowd that had never been to a powerlifting meet before. So they just didn't really know like how to act, I guess, or like how to cheer people on and give people like what they did to get their
Okay.
lifts.
And and this is a good question to ask you as, just coming out of your teenage years, becoming a collegiate, is do you think because I mean, you have a lot more 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old lifters where their parents are coming. I don't see, like, I've been to a lot of like softball games, football games. Those parents get crunk, like yelling, screaming, mostly at the referees, but
Yeah.
I don't see the same thing out of like powerlifting parents because maybe they don't understand the sport as well,
Mhm.
or they don't want, I don't know, they're scared to mess their kid up. But I just feel like, I don't know, I might have to do an episode of what to do as a parent at a powerlifting competition. That might be a great episode to release or
Mhm.
something. But you gave me that idea, making notes, writing it down. So we did our first meet, you loved it. This is your junior, is this your junior year?
Yes.
Okay, take us, you're a junior, you just switched sports to, how did you become a collegiate athlete? Because, doing a sport for the first time and then, going to a school to do that sport, that's a big transition. That's a large, you know, people dream about going to school for a sport. How did
Mhm.
you obtain that? What did you do? What drove you maybe your senior year? Or, when did you realize that this could be a sport that you could do in college? Kind of just walk us through the transition of finding the sport to getting interested in doing this sport in a school.
Yeah, so I'm a nursing major, so I was planning on going to one of the local colleges, like community colleges, to get my RN, and they have a really,
Real quick, we're out of Illinois, correct?
yes.
I just say that because I think that's important.
Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
so I was planning on getting my RN just at, like, our local community college, but they have a really competitive program. They only take, like, a couple of people a year, so I just wanted to make sure, like, I was able to get into a nursing program the first year. So I was looking at other schools, and I was telling one of my friends about that I lift with, and he was like, "I think Greenville's starting a powerlifting program." And they had recently started a nursing program a couple years prior, and I was like, "Okay, so I'll have to check it out." So I um, applied to the school, and then like the next day after I applied, I was sitting in one of my classes, and our athletic director of the high school I went to came into the room and was like, "Maddie, come here." And I was like, "Okay, that's really weird that you need me right now, but okay," because I wasn't, at the time I wasn't doing any school sports.
Yeah.
And he was and I just sat in his office with him, and he was just still chit chatting on the phone, and I was like, "All right, so what are we doing?" And he was like, "Oh, this is the Greenville powerlifting coach." And I was like, "Okay, so we're gonna talk to him right now. Okay, I just applied to the school yesterday. Awesome." So I had like a 15-20 minute conversation with him, and it seemed like it was gonna be a really great program. So I did a visit to the school, and it seemed like it was an awesome campus. I loved it there. The students seemed really nice. And then I signed like a couple weeks later, and I got started.
So that's an interesting story. And I don't think I say this because I think if you would have applied to a school that might have already had a traditional lift program, it might have been a little bit different. But you technically got a call from the coach before your application had even been accepted. It sounded like, because I know
Yeah, I'm
turnaround
not
time on
exactly remember how that.
applications aren't a day.
Yeah, I don't remember how that works.
Yeah. I'll have to ask coach one day if he just started social media stalking everybody that sends an application or what, because to find out from one day, that was there anywhere in the application where you put interest in powerlifting or anything like that?
There was like an option where you
Okay.
could put like interested in like certain like activities or sports.
Okay,
So
so that does make a little more sense then. That it just sounded weird without that piece of information. Like the coach is getting every applicant letter and just stalking them. Oh, they lift. Okay, let me call them, type thing.
that's
So it sounds more of, it was a more of a transition into convenience rather than something like you had to like, all right, I need to get this strong in order to be competitive, to make it on the school program, which
yeah.
is just convenience because of the new school, not only program in nursing, but also the new school sport in Greenville. So Greenville's in, what is it? Central Illinois? It's a little bit.
It's like central southern.
Yeah, I was about to say it's what, an hour and a half from
Yeah.
Chicago.
No, it's like 4 hours from Chicago.
Is it really that?
Yeah.
How far is it from like Mount Vernon then?
Mount Vernon?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how far it's from Mount Vernon. It's probably an hour and a half, maybe.
So how long did it
Could be
take you?
farther, honestly.
Okay. Cause like, so
It's like it's like an hour from St. Louis.
it's an hour from St. Louis, north, say
No,
like
it's
Greenville's
east of
north
St.
of
Louis.
St. Louis. That's about how far Mount Vernon is from St. Louis then. So it must be on. I have to look it up one day because that's not far at all. Like, because I'm from West Kentucky, so like I drive north all the way up to Mount Vernon to get, and I go to St. Louis probably once a month for competitions because it is a big powerlifting hub. They have a good scene there. And then I hit Mount Vernon and then I go west towards St. Louis for like an hour. So I have to go see. I know I'm thinking about driving up there. Y'all have a competition that y'all are, well, I don't know. It's
Mhm.
not got that many lifters in it, unfortunately, right now, but I
Yeah,
was
it's
going to
in
come visit.
May.
Yeah, I'm potentially going to come just watch and, advertise and maybe get some of y'all's teammates to do additional podcasts and things like that. So I might come up there and visit. All right. So back onto actual you signed up for Greenville, did the application to enter the school. Coach called you, you made a visit, and then you signed as committed.
Mhm.
What happened in your competitive life from that first comp all the way up to this time? Had you done another competition as training? Like, what have you been consistently training? Give me a little bit of a breakdown of what the competitor Madison had been doing since all this has happened.
Yeah, I think I did at least two. I think I did like two competitions, maybe three, and then like a random like there was a meet like a couple of like 30 minutes from where I lived that was just like a gym like fundraising, so I went and lifted there. It
So
was
like
like
kind of like
connected to an organization.
a squat or like a lot of those do bench deadlift competitions to raise money for certain things like that.
Yeah, I don't they were just like hosting like a random meet just to like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know really know what they were doing
I
actually.
understand. No,
I don't
but it
remember.
sounded
It was
like you
like
just wanted to help the
an hour.
cause.
It was like a year and a half ago. Yeah.
You don't remember a year and a half ago? You're 18
I don't
years old. That's
remember what
like
they were doing.
20% of your life.
Yeah.
I'm kidding with you as someone that's double your age. Just, it's funny. So we've competed multiple times. Uh, Talk us through kind of where that first competition we totaled 565 to what our total was leaving our senior year in high school. Do you remember a little bit?
Yeah. So, it was like 565 my first meet, and then I had like progressed a lot for a really like for a while, for like about a year. And then when I got to about my senior year, I kind of like hit a plateau. And then I think I was at around like 315 on squat and like 145 on bench and probably about like 300 on deadlift. And then I'd gotten sick that summer after my senior year and I'd lost basically like everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I really struggled there. My total was probably almost the same as it was my first meet at that point.
Okay. So you said you got sick. Can you walk us through a little bit of what that was from and kind of what the effects that was? You said your strength went down, but a lot of that had to do with another factor. Can you walk us through kind of what that was and what your
So
weight did?
the beginning of the summer after my senior year of high school, they said I got bronchitis, so I didn't lift or do anything for 2 weeks. I basically just laid in bed and did nothing. And I lost 30 pounds. And when I went back into the gym, I could barely squat 225. Like, it was a struggle. It was horrible. And I was really, like, disappointed in myself because I felt like I'd lost all the progress that I had just previously made.
Mhm.
So, very
So,
disappointed.
and that's 30 pounds on a 170-pound person. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
17, 18% of your body weight there. That's a
Uh-huh.
significant. So so you went back to working out during the summer and realized that you had got a lot weaker, you said, right?
Mhm.
As a perfectionist, that's got to be tough. What kept you? Because like I could almost see where that would naturally want someone wouldn't give up. Like I just got, you know, all the gains that I'd reached out the year and a half are gone. What kind of prevented you from going into that more depressed mind state of everything's lost and still go into Greenville ready to, you know, kind of revamp your strength goals?
Well, I'm also with being a perfectionist, I'm also a very determined person. So like when I set my mind to something, like I'm going to see it through and it's gonna happen, like no matter what. Like I'm going to hit my goals. So like I'd go to the gym and I'd like lift and I'd work my hardest and I'd just leave. Like I'd be very like upset with how the lifts went after I left. But like I just tell myself I have to keep going, and my mom was a big factor in that because like there were days that I was like I just want to be done, and she was like, "Nope, you're going to Greenville in August. Like you're not quitting now." And I was like, okay, you're right.
Yeah, she was like, think of all that money I'm saving with you going to a school on a scholarship. No, you better go. That's funny. It's like I said, out of all the athletes that I'm interviewing, I see common things in how they were raised or in their parenting, and a lot of that comes down to one, support. A lot of it comes down to your parents sticking up for values that they believe in and not letting you not fulfill those. Like, you know, hey, you said you were going to do this, you sign a commitment, you're going to do this. Like, that's a, you know, living up to your word is a value that you have to teach kids. And I've noticed through all these interviews that there are certain things instilled in these athletes that they're getting from their parents. So common traits that, you know, that athletes are getting from their parents, and it's very refreshing, and it's also very important because we get to talk about that, and maybe someone that didn't get that from their parents can maybe try to develop in themselves through these videos and things like that. So a great characteristic your mom instilled in you. Talk us through kind of, you lost 30 pounds, you're you know, you lost probably 200 plus pounds on your total, basically, from your strength. How did that go over at Greenville on those first couple of weeks? Like, what did coach say? Kind of what was his words to you, and how did he prepare you to go into that first comp?
So I had talks with him about it. Like I think he knew previously before I got there that I'd lost quite a bit of weight and that my strength had been down. But when I got there, he was like, "Don't worry about it. Like your lifts are going to be back where they were at by the time I got to October, which was our first meet." And I was like, "Okay, Scott, like sure." I was like, kind of just like, whatever. Of course. And he was right. Like I was competing even like kind of equipped. I was using knee wraps and I was squatting 315, and I did 315 on my second attempt with sleeves at the October meet.
Definitely
My
got a lot of
definitely put up.
strength back.
Yeah.
And your weight hadn't changed really. You're
Mhm.
still down that nearly 30 pounds because you said you were competing in that 59 or what was it? 69, what was it? Yeah, 155 or below, 154 or below, something like that.
I think it's a 151 or something like that is the weight class at the top
Yeah,
of it.
70 would be 154, so minus 2, it'd be like 162, yeah, or 152 or below, yeah, something like that. So still down significantly amount of weight, but still pushing more weight on the bar at this time. What would you contribute that to? What changed in your training your senior year compared to going into your training that first semester of Greenville? Because, you know, something had to add to that development. What do you think that was? As
I
far as
think what he was having me do was just a little bit different than what I was previously doing. So like it was kind of just the way like it was changed, like my workouts were changed up really helps build more strength back into me.
Okay, so talk us through what a traditional like week's worth of workouts looks like on the Greenville team, then, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so right now I'm preparing for nationals, so on this following week we're going to be doing like RPE 8s on squat, bench, and
I was about
deadlift.
to say you're about to probably just start peaking though
Hmm.
right now, then, aren't you? Okay,
Yeah. So we'll be doing that. We'll probably doing like 1 by 1s and then like 2 by 5 back downs, something like that. And then we normally do like things like belt squats and like reverse hyperextensions, incline bench press, dumbbell.
great for us females.
We do like chest flies a lot. What else do we do? We do curls and then like tricep extensions. Those are some workouts that we do.
Yeah, some accessories.
Yeah.
So what changed? Like, was it the amount of volume? Was it the rep ranges? Was it the like maybe the fatigue control? What do you think changed compared to your previous coach? Not saying what your previous coach was doing wrong, but what do you recall that it was like this was probably the major factor? Because there are only certain things that are actually going to add muscle or add strength to your
Mhm.
bodies. What and I'm sure you did most of those exercises at the old gym technically.
Yeah, I
Like no,
I did. So I never really lifted like based off of RPEs before I got to Greenville. So I feel like it was a lot of like fatigue control because I was lifting like a lot of like RP8s, RP9s like every single week without even like realizing it. I was just kind of doing as much as I could every week and that
that's at Greenville.
no, at before Greenville.
Okay. So you
So
were
like
fatiguing
now
yourself too much so you couldn't
yeah.
advance. Okay.
So now I feel like I'm controlling that and I'm being able to like build strengths better.
Can you walk us through what like more of a hypertrophy or a off season week looks like as far as rep range and RPEs or percentages? What is he having you do during like those muscle building phases?
Yeah, so it's a lot of reps usually. We usually do like 2 sets of like 8 on squat, which are not my favorite. And they're usually like RPE 6, maybe RPE 7. Deadlift is probably 4 to 6 reps. Bench is probably like 6, 5 to 6 reps.
How many sets?
Probably 2 to 3 on our
Okay.
top set.
And then what did you do like drop down sets?
We usually do back downs that are usually pretty light.
Okay, about how many sets of back downs do you do during like a hypertrophy block?
Probably, maybe.
Okay. So around 4 sets.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I know a lot y'all do a lot of accessory work though, don't y'all?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And that's another good way of controlling fatigue management. I say this just because, and we're gonna get this on the podcast a lot more. I know I have some scheduling that I'm gonna do with Scott and like Brad from McKendree and a couple other coaches that are really just gonna try to teach our audience more about programming so they can one potentially do it themselves or two spot good coaches because I think unfortunately sometimes you have these coaches that hey, I've competed twice, let me start taking clients. Well, you haven't, you're not good enough at what you're trying to sell yet. So we're going to develop episodes that are trying to prevent youth and teen athletes from being taken advantage of or overpaying for something they're not getting the value of. And so that was a good lead up to that. So training's changed, volume has changed, fatigue maintenance has changed, and your strengths are coming back. What was that? We competed in October at St. Louis, your first Powerlifting America competition. It sounded like it went great. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I'd never really like competed with like a big team before in powerlifting, so that was a really different experience for me and I really enjoyed it. I was really nervous how my lifts were gonna go because I hadn't lifted like super, super heavy in a long time because of my weight change and everything.
I mean, you kind of you would have peaked a little bit like the 2 or 3 weeks before comp though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You had to know at
I
least where you were kind of at.
Yeah, I had an idea of where I was gonna be, but I wasn't, like, really sure. Like, when we got there and he told me what he wanted me to do, I was like, "Are you sure, Scott? Like, I don't know if I can still do that." But, it went well. My bench wasn't the greatest at that meet. I don't know what was going on with me that day, but I was kind of upset with that, but it's okay. My bench has gone up a lot since then now, so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to see where that goes at nationals. But, yeah, I would say the meet was pretty good, and it was a good qualifier for nationals.
You said something you hadn't experienced like lifting with a team like that. I think this is a good opportunity. Collegiate powerlifting is a lot different than traditional sports because y'all compete as a team, both male and female. Like the division between the sexes aren't as divided as traditional sports. Like y'all are going to the same meets, y'all are competing on the same day, y'all are training together a lot. Tell us a little bit about what's that like? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the good things about training? male, female together. Because like I said, I can't think of too many other sports that are like that. Most of the time it's very separated as far as training and stuff like that together. So tell us a little bit about that and the pros and cons about that kind of new atmosphere.
So at the beginning, I was a little unsure about it because I'd never really experienced like being on a team with both men and women because I just never done a sport like that before. So I was kind
There's
of
not
like,
very many sports like that. So
this is kind of weird. Like I'm training with men and women together. Like I'm not too sure about this. I really enjoyed it. I've had a great time like training with both the men and the women. I feel like the men's side has really pushed the women's side to like be more aggressive and competitive like when we're lifting because that's just like the nature of the guys on our team, and I feel like it's helped my lifts a lot.
so you've been able to harness a little bit of masculinity in the competitiveness because you have that boy right beside you being like, no, you can do more. Let's get more, put some more weight on it, type thing. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
for sure.
Well, have you as the female lifters made them any more feminine and they actually put the weight up off the bar and clean up after themselves at all?
Yeah, I feel like they've done a very good job at being very
Sweet.
clean, but Scott likes to keep his gym very clean, so I
That
feel
is a
like that's
brand new
also
gym
another
though, so I
factor.
can't blame him for that. That is a very brand new, very luxurious gym. So I would want to keep it spotless too. I just know, like I said, as a guy myself, and I've worked out with plenty of men, as in like in my strongman Saturday days, we're messy. And we don't necessarily always want to clean up after ourselves. And then when we got our wives and our girlfriends involved in the sport, they would hound us about like, you just knocked that over, go clean it up, type thing. So I wondered how
Mhm.
that dynamic was. So would you say then you're enjoying the mixed gender of the training aspect and the competing aspect?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good. It's been good. There's not been really any issues, and I think it's really been beneficial for us because we've helped each other both ways of becoming
Okay.
better lifters.
I think that's, like I said, it's a one part of the dynamic um of powerlifting collegiate style. It's different than any other sport that I can think of off the top of my head. Uh, Talk us. So we competed in October. Um, which qualified for nationals. So we're headed to
Mhm.
nationals. And then you also said something that I think is really cool. You said you got your certificate to ref.
Mhm.
Talk us about why you did that. What was the cause? And kind of what that experience was like.
So my coach is kind of the one that pushed for that. He wants to host more meets at our gym, so he was wanting some of us to get like to be able to ref so we can be the ones to do it. So at we hosted a meet, when was that? November maybe? And he had people come in and we did like the in-person like test, and
Yeah.
me and one other guy did it, and then we did our online test too and we passed. So I think I've refed one meet since then.
What's it's called a practical.
Yeah, the
I
practical.
had to, I had to think of the word. Tell us a little, how was the test? Is it open? I know most of the powerlifting federations tests are open book. Was the online test open book?
It was open book. It was kind of tricky, honestly. The wording was
Yeah, they
very
they they mess
tricky. If
with
you
you.
didn't like pay attention really closely, you definitely missed a couple of them.
Yeah. So I think I've taken two online certificate qualifiers, and both of them have been, watch your wording.
Hmm.
What was the practical like? I think, or how was that as far as just kind of like, did you feel like what you were calling was this? Because a lot of the practicals that I've done, you've said whether it was a good lift or not, and then the actual referee said whether it was good or not, and you kind of get graded based on how many y'all agree
Yeah, so
on.
basically what we did was I had like a sheet of paper and I would say like whether it was a good lift or not, and then he would mark it on the like his phone that like showed that was like connected to everything in the gym that like showed the lights. And if we agreed, I just like put a check mark. If not, I put an X, and then if I got like the passing score or whatever, then I passed that portion of it.
Yeah. Um, would you say that becoming a referee has made you look at lifting different as far as like your own lifts or maybe some of your teammates' lifts as far as like, because like it changed the way I look at lifting when I realized what the rules were. And once I had to make the decision whether something was good or bad, it made me focus a lot differently when I see lifting videos online or things like that. Has it changed the way you look at lifting, squat, bench, and deadlift now?
No, for sure. When I am, like, in the gym, like, watching people lift, I catch myself, like, sometimes being like, "Oh, that's a good lift," or, "No, that's not a good lift." And when I'm, like, watching, like, reels on, like, Instagram or on TikTok, like, I definitely do the same thing then too, so I'm always, like, I guess, judging people's lifts.
Last thing on the topic, if it if it wasn't for your coach really pushing this from the team because they wanted to host meets, is it something you'd ever thought about?
It wasn't something I was thinking about at the time, but I think it was I think it's something that I probably would have thought about in the future because I really enjoy the sport.
Okay. Is it something that you plan on continuing to do even after you leave Greenville potentially?
Yeah, I'm for sure planning on reffing, and I hope to continue lifting after I'm done with Greenville.
Oh, there's no reason why not. I'm 40 and I still compete. The reason I say that, and this is more just talking to the audience per se, but one of my biggest complaints about the state of powerlifting, and it is what it is. We all know that the cost is going up, um, and things like that. Like I remember back in the day when a competition was like $65 and $70 to compete in, but a lot of that I think has to do with the amount of volunteers the sport has
Mhm.
now. And I'm proud that to see Greenville, request it from their athletes. I know I follow McKendree powerlifting a lot, and a lot of their lifters are judges or they spot and load. And I want to get the narrative back to where if you really do love something, you support it. And a lot of times supporting it doesn't mean just competing. It means helping others have that experience as well. So spotting and loading, refereeing, and doing that not for necessarily the money or, but just doing it because you want the sport to grow. You want other people to have the experience in the sport that you do. So I just say that as any athlete that, if you're on your second, third, fourth meet and you're like, man, this is the awesomest thing, I'm never going to quit. Find other ways that you can help the sport grow. Go spot and load, learn to be appreciative of what that takes, potentially go out there and become a judge. You're going to help the sport continue to grow the more you're willing to give back to it. So that's just kind of my soapbox. And I appreciate Scott and what he's doing at y'all's team in order to make that still continue to grow. I think it's a good thing to teach y'all at an early age.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's go into the last topic. We're headed to nationals. Talk us a little bit about how that prep has gone, kind of where you're at mentally. Are you prepared? Are you looking forward to it? You did say your bench has got a lot better, so that's exciting. But tell us a little bit about kind of that prep for that.
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks we've been doing RPE sevens. I think it was last week.
What rep range?
We've been doing a lot of RPE sevens, and then I think it was the week before last week we did a deload, and then we went back RPE sevens last week, and
How
then
many
next week we're
reps
going.
though at RP?
Oh, rep range. Sorry, I didn't hear that. I think on squat and deadlifts it was 3, and then bench it was 1.
That's at usually. Never mind. I mean, each coach is different. I see I wonder. I'd be interested to see if you jump up the rep range back into bench because a lot of times you will you will pull back on squats and deadlifts before you pull back on bench because of all the damage that those two lifts do to you more than what a bench press does. So we're doing a lot of RPE sevens, rep ranges 1 to 3. Talk to us about the accessory work. Are you doing the same amount accessory as you would during like an off season block? How
I
has that
feel
changed?
I feel like it's similar, but I think it might be just a little bit more than what we would normally be doing on an off season.
I've seen coaches do it both ways. Sometimes because your barbell volume decreases, they in
I
order to
feel like
keep.
the reps are a little bit lower than they normally are on off
Okay.
season though,
Okay.
but it's
Um,
more accessible.
yeah. So like I said, I've seen coaches pull back on accessories as well because they're trying to maintain like a pure focus on strength. Then I've also seen coaches where they'll increase the volume because the volume of barbell lifts have gone down so much that they're supplementing that extra volume with accessory work just to keep like your general volume capacity high. So talk to us a little bit, like tell me what you're like if I was to go eyes in Madison to go have the best day on nationals, what would that look like? Like what are the goals? What are you aspiring to achieve? To walk us what you're kind of visually dreaming about Madison's performance will be on the national stage.
I'm just kind of hoping to like hit like my top numbers that that I have like going in my head, and then I'm just a freshman, so I'm not really like expecting like anything like huge out of nationals. I guess
Well, what are those what are those that's what I was trying to get out of you anyway. What's those numbers that Madison wants to hit?
I feel like on squat I want to hit between like 340 and 345. Bench probably like 170 to 180.
Oh, that is a big increase compared to that 145.
Yeah. And then on deadlifts, I feel about like three between like 330 and like 340.
Okay, so let's just say 340 and 340. And then what was on bench?
Like 180.
So you want to walk in and hit at 860.
Yeah.
That I mean, compared to the 760, I would say that's an awesome day, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm a firm believer in speaking stuff into existence. That's kind of why I made you say it out loud. The more you say it, the more you believe that it might be able to happen. The more you believe, the harder you're going to push to make it actually happen. That's just a coach's tip to you and to everybody else listening. Don't be scared to say what you want out to the public. That'll put some confidence and some work ethic into that, achieving that goal. So we're calling it Madison 860, Atlanta, Georgia.
Hope so.
What let's one last topic. Let's talk about I know this is still early on and you're probably not going to really examine this until after nationals because that's when the season will be over. But tell us a little bit about what Madison's goal are as a power lifter and as a teammate going from freshman to sophomore. Has Scott kind of talked to you about what he expects from y'all as y'all develop in the program, what he's hoping next year to look like, what maybe you personally would hope to do, but talk us a little bit about what you see as a sophomore.
Yeah, I hope that like we're getting a lot more recruits in for next year, so I'm hoping that like the team grows, we can take more people to nationals, and we can just grow a better program, I guess.
Okay. Are you excited about not being I guess everybody's new in the program right now.
Yeah, we all are right now.
Are you like what's the oldest classmate on the team? Like
We
as
have
far
two
as
we have two seniors. I think they're either 21 or 22. I'm not sure how old
but
they
there
are.
are some seniors. Are there any
Mhm.
juniors?
Yes, I think
Okay,
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I just kind of wondered how that dynamic would look going into the following year. Because like I said, is it freshmen's going to lead the team going into their sophomore year or were there going to be some
I
upper
think we
class?
have like a good chunk of most of us are freshmen, but I think there's two juniors, two seniors, and a sophomore.
Okay. So are you ready to be more of the head of the team then going into next year and kind of advising these underclassmen? Because, that's going to be part of as you age up in the team, that's going to be a responsibility on y'all.
Mhm.
So last thing I really want to discuss, because I think this is also an interesting aspect of collegiate. How much are you paying to go to collegiates?
I so this like I think we fundraised a lot for it, so our fundraising's paying for it rather than like us paying out of pocket for it.
It's the whole point I wanted to make. Y'all don't actually have to write a check for the travel or anything like that. Y'all do it as a team together, correct?
Yes.
And I think I love that aspect. Don't get me wrong. I know how much of a pain fundraising is as a charity, but to take that pressure off the lifter and let them focus on just performing, I think that makes it more like a sport because that's what other, like, no football players ever had to worry about how they're going to get to the game.
Mhm.
So I'm glad to see there's schools out there that are developing this kind of powerlifting program so that the athlete can actually be an athlete and not be an individual having to figure out how to go. I say that because that could persuade some athletes to be like, man, that makes it sound way more fun to go into collegiate powerlifting than not go into collegiate powerlifting. Like, I can still compete, I can go to high level tournaments, and I don't per se have to worry about all the finances. So I just wanted to bring that topic up. Madison, anything else you want to kind of that we missed about how awesome Madison is that we need to hit?
I don't think so.
All right. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to ask you the same two questions that I ask every one of my athletes because this is where this is the whole point of the podcast. What can powerlifting or just strength lifting weights do to entice more people your age? Like, what is it that we're missing as far as like either an advertisement or kind of appealing to y'all, especially as a female? What can we as a sport do to get more lifters in your generation to come see what it's all about?
I feel like the organizations do a really good job about, like, posting on social media, but, like, I feel like I'm really guilty. I don't post on social media very much, so, like, I feel like people like me who are like, who is a collegiate lifter, like, could post more on social media and, like, be like, "Hey, like, you should try powerlifting. It's an awesome sport, like, give it a try." I feel like that's one way that you could get to, like, the younger generations because, like, I'm someone who's close in age to, like, a high schooler because I just got out of high school last year, like, I could be someone who could, like, speak into them
I
and
think
help.
that's a very responsible answer because I think, you are what's going to appeal to that audience more. So I appreciate the honesty of that. So I'm going to expect at least one post about your lifting a week now.
Okay.
I'm going to grade you. I'll message you in a couple weeks and
Mhm.
be like, hey, I hadn't seen a lifting video this week. Anything else from a woman's standpoint? What would you say that we need to communicate better on or appeal to in order to get more women involved? Not that, I mean, women are constantly growing in the sport. I'm not saying they're not, but I still think we could do better. I say that because how often do I still hear, I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah, I
Like,
still feel like for even for, like, a lot of high schoolers, especially, like, it's kind of taboo to, like, do powerlifting because they don't wanna get bulky, and, like, I feel like it's just something that you can just be like, "Hey, well, it's, like it's a fun sport, like, you just don't worry about that because I mean, I feel like you do gain muscle, but I feel like you don't look extremely bulky once you start doing it as a woman, like, I don't feel like that's really, like, something that should be going through the back of your mind, worrying about when you start it. Just do it because you love it, not because you're scared of something. That's not a reason to not do
I've,
something.
I've seen a lot of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old female lifters. I might have only been able to qualify one or two of them as bulky, and that was more genetic than it was they were lifting weights. So I agree. Like I said, I do think that it takes more women to inspire more women. So I was very serious. Madison, I'm calling on you to, be a little more social on the
Mhm.
internet and try to appeal to that
Like,
16,
never
17 year
post
old.
on social media.
Now, I'm telling you, next week, if I don't see a lifting gym video, you need to even tag Greenville so you can advertise for them. Like, there's no reason.
Okay.
So the last question I ask is what would you say to another female, say a 16, 17-year old, if they came to you and said, why do you power lift? Like, tell us from your own words, this is what this sport has done for me types.
I started it because I quit a sport and I just needed something to do, and I really fell in love with it because I did power tumbling when I was really little, and I developed a mental block, so I wasn't able to throw a lot of my skills, and it, like, kind of really knocks my confidence down and, like, in sports and just within myself, so, like, starting powerlifting and, like, seeing myself get stronger, seeing how strong I've gotten in the past 2 years has really, like, built my confidence back up and, like, who I am and, like, in sports. So I feel like that's just a really great reason to do powerlifting. It's a good confidence booster.
You can't buy confidence. It has to be earned. So I agree wholeheartedly. I think one thing I do want to point out though is once you have some confidence, your willingness to try to achieve more goes up as well. Once you realize that you can achieve more, you start dreaming and wishing bigger dreams and wishes. And so I think it sends your aspirations a lot higher than what you would have traditionally done. That's another thing, just that adds on to that confidence factor. Is like you might have thought you could achieve this before, but once you realize that you're stronger, more, can obtain more, you can work harder, your aspirations go to the next level. And that's when you're starting to really achieve your true potential, God-given potential. And that's where we all need to try to strive for. So Madison, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it. I think we had a lot less technical issues this episode.
I
So I
agree.
appreciate that. Once again, good luck on nationals. I know me and my kid will be watching it and rooting on Greenville because they've been such a big support. Scott has been a support for this organization. And I just thank y'all for coming on the show, making it a reality. I hope in the next 5 or 6 years after I've done 400 of these, we can honestly say, hey, we've got 400 extra lifters on the platform because of y'all's stories. And I would love to share that news with all my guests in the future. So thank you. Start posting on social media more.
I will.
And like I said, good luck at nationals. Thank y'all, everybody that listened. Always remember, stay strong. Thank y'all.